Hear this phrase being thrown around all the time. The new media catchphrase, paradigm shift. There's a paradigm shift going on. Change is what it is. Old free market capitalists move out. You had the neocons back in the last administration, neoconservatives. Now you have the neocoms. Yes, the neo-communists. Don't matter if you don't like it either, because you don't have any money. And so you ain't gonna do a thing about it. If you do have money and you don't like what you see, well, you're just gonna move out of the market and shut up and let the neocons move in. That's all. They had to camouflage their agenda of economic justice, as they call it. His code word for the redistribution of wealth and for the reparations of slavery. David Axelrod and James Carville and Paul Begala, who serve the President of the United States in a daily conference call with Obama's Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, along with others in the new Ministry of Truth and Information / NBC. They cannot redistribute wealth openly, so they have a method by which they will do so surreptitiously. For you Barack Obama voters, that means, kind of sneaky-like. They will do this by talking down the market in order to scare away investors, mom and pop and Richie Riches. So, in turn, the stocks that the omen want to buy will drop in value, thus making it cheaper to buy more stock and more quickly gain a foothold in whatever company they desire. For instance, A.I.G and Citigroup, in order to start up their own universal healthcare system and alternative energy industry and infrastructure and the smart power grid. So the omen has corporate executives planted in very high places of the largest corporations in America, and they sit in charge of those. And they advise the omen about how the company can further be taken over. Corporations have records which they must file regularly with various government agencies and entities of the megalomaniacal bureaucracy. You know them, the IRS, the SEC, Security and Exchange Commission, USDA, OSHA, EEOC, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And you know what they say about bureaucracy, the left hand don't know what the right hand's doing. So what better way to find out what you want to know about a company, like how much it's really worth, than to subversively infiltrate its ivory tower and install your own people with an unobstructed view of the financial big picture of whatever particular company where you have placed them. So check it out, dog. While you were watching American Idol, saying to your old lady, "Damn, that blind kid can play piano," the government bailed out. Read bought out. Because bailout equals buyout, okay? They bought out Citigroup with Robert Rubin as the chief executive officer, Clinton's former secretary of the Treasury. Remember how before they did this, the government, we the sheeple, already bailed out Citigroup. But it had to be done again because the news was still very grim about Citigroup's future and possibly that of the entire world economy. And because, said some at Citigroup, They never got anything from the second half of the TARP funds that they were promised because Barney Frank took it away and gave it to Fannie Mae and Fannie Mae. And so, you're a clean, articulate new president sat down his new Treasury Secretary, and while we, the sheeple, paid the electric bill and bought the paper and ink, the United States Mint printed enough funny money in the brand new bills signed by the brand new Secretary of the Treasury, Timmy G, also of boyish good looks, and he didn't even bring his own pen to work that day, so he had to borrow one of Barry O's pens of many colors that one likes to use when he signs bills to buy solar panels for abortion clinics in Mozambique and such. And that crispy new funny money is partly used to buy a controlling stake in Citigroup. A week later, while you're drinking green beer, the government does the same thing with A.I.G. And their stock goes up in value also, although because 0.1% is going to the management of the company, they're trying to make a big spectacle out of it so that you don't get what's really going on, what I'm telling you about. Because we're kind of buying on margin, which is we're borrowing money. Barney Frank and the Obamas and the Clintons borrowing money from our grandchildren in order to make this work now. So, they want to make a big liberal, fascist, socialist, look at these greedy rich people type of spectacle. Look what they're doing with your money, America. Never mind what we're doing with your money, me, Nancy Pelosi. See, thing is, for a thing like Citigroup, the government sees that, they have $850 billion in holdings, which are, investments in other companies, and they have $2 trillion in assets, property and capital. Some of them, quote-unquote, toxic, because it is difficult to figure out the true value upon them, but they do have a value. And they're never going to be not worth nothing, especially if they're land or real estate. Not to mention all the stock. The peak value of this stock, of these two companies. If you bought a share of A.I.G. when they first started doing business in 1984, which cost about $2.70 at that time, and held on to it, considering all the stocks splits and stuff like that, you would have had in October 2000 22 shares for valued at close to 100 each. The price traded in a range between 50 and 75 for a number of years with the bursting of the housing bubble, and it plummeted down to 36 cents, at which point the government bought an 80% share and installed their own executive for $1 a year. Certain Mr. Liddy. 3-point-something billion market cap. That's how many shares outstanding, each one worth, $100 at that time, and dropped since then, but a large amount of that money is still held by this company and doing what they want with it, which means that the government now has that money. So in secret, they can calculate with the Federal Reserve and other people how much of the money they just printed that they actually need. Of course, they're going to tell you and me that they still need all of it because that covers their asses and they can stand by to use it again. But they've gotten us so used to going along with the bailout. If they never even tell us that they didn't even need all this money, they're just printing it in. They're not actually spending all of it. I like to think, anyway. They're spending it as they go along. Of course, they're going to try to find ways to spend all of it because they are Democrats, and Democrats love to buy all kinds of stuff for all kinds of people in order to make them their voters.